Welcome everyone to this next interview of the She Shakes the World interview series with me, Rachel Waite, with my lovely, sorry to make you giggle to start off with my lovely special guest, Nikki Tapley. You are really going to enjoy this conversation. We don't know where it's heading. We just know that it's going to be really special. So I'm just going to allow Nikki to take the floor and introduce herself and let you know who she is, what she's about, and how she so lovingly shakes the world in her way.
Wow, amazing. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Thank you, Rachel, for having me with you. It's such a privilege. And just to be able to share my message with the world. I think we're always in growth as humans, and there's always more to learn about life and paradigms and the kind of spiritual, and we grow so much. So I'm excited to see in 3 years' time, when I look back at this session today, how much more has come, because I live in a constant state of shift, of growth, of experiencing more, and it's exciting. And the reason that I share this is because actually that's kind of a big part of my message, and what I'm about, I think, is encouraging people to see the potential that's in them, but to recognize that they'll never fully grasp it. There's always more if they seek it, if they desire it, if they want it. And so I'm excited because I'm on a constant growth journey myself. And you asked me today what I'm about, what my vision is and my mission, and I'll say one thing, but in 3 years' time, it will be even bigger and even more exciting. So right now it feels big and scary and hairy, but in a few years' time, I'm super excited for where things will be then. So thank you so much for welcoming me.
Oh, Nikki, that's such a beautiful words. I just love what you just shared then. And I think it's so true. I think we can only expand as much as we can at a time. And I think if sometimes we knew the massive picture for where we were going, we would be like, oh no, I'm not sure I can do that. So I think it's right. I think that's why we're in this permanent state of growth, because as we're growing, we're learning, we're overcoming things, we're overcoming maybe something within ourselves. We got challenges that come into our lives, and we're permanently, and it's lovely. I love the way you describe it as growth, because sometimes things can come in and they can feel like they're knocking us backwards. But actually what they're there to do is that they're there to teach us something. They're something for us to learn from, and sometimes it can be hard to remember that, but I love that you describe it as growth. And Nikki, I know that you do so much to inspire women. What is it that you love about inspiring, what is it that you love about that?
I mean, I just love to empower and inspire anybody, to be honest, but there's something in the last few years where I've been drawn like a moth to a flame to helping women and serving women. And it's, funnily enough, not something that I would have ever planned for myself. I was all about equality, diversity, and not about a particular gender at all. I'm just pro people, I'm pro love, and I'm pro relationship, and gender has there's no boundaries really for me in terms of gender. But I found myself being called into helping women in a way that I can't explain. It's a spiritual thing, but as I stepped into that, it felt uncomfortable because it was sort of putting myself in a particular space. And there's all kinds of challenges around working with women that's perceived by the world. Women's work, sometimes there's all kinds of stuff that comes at women and people who work with women and people who champion women, because I think sometimes we're seen as sort of bra burning feminists that hate men and hate the patriarchy. And for me personally, that's not how I feel. I feel that as men, women, whatever gender we identify as, we are human, and we all have a place and a space in this world, and there is enough love for all of us. But there are challenges that are faced by different groups of people.
Mm.
Depending on their experience, their culture, those challenges will be different. And in my experience, in the culture that I live in and work in, the challenges that I perceive for women are challenges of feeling that they have to juggle everything, feeling that weight of responsibility, the mental load of having to organize everyone, everything, being the kind of the glue that holds families together, organizing the social life, often the finances, often the wider family dynamics, the day-to-day nitty-gritty of life, but then also in the modern age, working and feeling that they want to work. Not that they have to necessarily, maybe they do, but actually we as women have this challenge that we see what womanhood should be like, and we aspire to be all things to all people because that's the way that our society portrays women as needing to be. But actually for me, I believe in looking at each person as an individual and recognizing that that's not who we are all meant to be. For some people, they will thrive in that space of juggling everything and they're brilliant at it. For other women, being a homemaker and being present with the family and raising children, maybe homeschooling, is huge in terms of the responsibility and the benefit that brings to our society and to their families. And they may well be juggling lots of other pressures and things as well, but they may not have work to do in the conventional sense of work as we think of it. Equally, there may be other women who are career women who work incredibly hard and are incredibly passionate about what they do for a living to provide for themselves and their families, and they feel that weight of responsibility to step up and to do those things. But maybe they also love it. And I just love that as women, we can be whoever we want to be, but we have to own the space that we take up and where we choose to put our energy and our time. And actually, this sort of vision that I think many women have of needing to be all things to all people, needing to juggle everything. There's an element of truth in that I think as women, we have a natural maternal instinct and an aptitude for protecting, bringing together, nurturing. And so naturally we take on those responsibilities. And that's okay, but it's also okay to recognize maybe you have a slightly more masculine energy, and maybe you are somebody that isn't so good at some of those things. But what I love about working with women is that the diversity of the personalities, the strengths, the skills that women have, it's not easy to just go, well, women are like this, men are like this, therefore this is what's needed. And so when I started being pulled into the female space, I started to really see how the kind of gender roles that the West and the UK society particularly, that those gender roles and those stereotypes that we have are not helpful to either gender, because actually it creates this sense of division and this sense of disconnect. And for me, I love all people. I love creating a harmony between men and women in any gender, and saying that we are all humans. We are all connected in this beautiful web that makes up the fabric of the world and society and the universe. And if we can just see each other as individuals, rather than this is my gender, therefore I have issues with X, Y, and Z. If we can see each other as true individuals with hearts, and I'm all about seeing the heart of humans, then it gets rid of the gender issue entirely, which then for me creates a challenge of, well, if there is no gender issue, why work just with women? But I feel in my spirit that the reason that I'm called to work with women is because women do face certain challenges in the way that they feel they have to accept certain responsibilities. And there is work ahead for me in the voluntary space, perhaps in terms of political activism even in the future, that is about actually empowering women to recognize that they are individuals. They don't have to accept a label of I am woman, therefore this is my story. It's not about that. It's I am Nikki, therefore this is my story. And so I want to kind of encourage women and inspire women and empower women by helping them to see that they are beautifully, perfectly made individuals who have a choice about their future, who have a choice about how they want to show up in this world. They don't have to conform to the norms or the perceived norms or the stereotypes or fight against those. They just have to be beautifully, wonderfully them.
Yeah.
And so that's what brings me joy, is helping people to just embrace that about themselves and help them to show up in a way that they want to show up in the world. So whether that's through business or otherwise, it doesn't matter. It's just, that's what it's about.
It's beautiful, Nikki, and I really hope people either watching or listening really feel what you're saying, that, because I think women can really struggle at thinking we have to be all these different hats, and it can be, but there can be so much guilt comes with that, because maybe, you know, we're working and then we're trying to look after the children, you know, all these different roles, and sometimes we can feel like we're not fulfilling any of them really well. We're just like sort of ducks, you know, how do I, you know, with the
madly paddling underneath,
yes, madly
sort of gliding on the surface like a swan. Yes.
And I think hopefully what they've heard from you speaking is to give them permission to go, I don't have to be all of those things.
Yes,
I just need to be true to me, who I am. And maybe there's some things that I can let go of, so that I can be more present for the things that actually fill me up, and the things that I'm really here to do and be. What would you say to someone who's listening, thinking that, you know, they are in that place where they feel torn, and how do they move through that?
That's a great question. I think that sense of being torn, it kind of goes back to identity. So I would say, for me, I was that person. That was my story. I was torn between who I really was and who I felt I was meant or should be, you know, not meant to be, but who I felt pressured to be. Who I was conditioned to be. And so I think if you're feeling torn, it's amazing actually, because it's an indication that there's growth coming for you and there's change coming. Because I always think that in those times of unsettledness and squeezing and yucky uncomfortableness, that it means breakthroughs coming. It means that the next level of you is about to emerge, because you can choose, when you feel that uncomfortable, torn feeling, to make a change. And it's in that change that you grow and you step closer into the essence of who you are. And if you can choose not to take that up, you can choose to ignore it and squash that feeling. But actually that feeling is sent to serve you. So if you're feeling that right now watching this, take it as an opportunity to explore. So for me, it was about unpicking who I was first. Not trying to change my circumstances, but trying to understand myself. Because I use this analogy of building a house, and it applies, you know, I usually use it in business, but it applies to all of us. And I was talking to a coach about it this week. You know, we have to have our foundations really, really solid as individuals before we can build a life that feels and looks exactly as we want it to be. If we don't know who we are, if we don't have clarity around our identity, then all of the stuff that we build in our lives and the, you know, the constructs that we create in our world are sitting on floppy foundations that have no substance. And it can be that actually we've built, you know, this house with walls and windows and to a design that isn't really built on anything solid, but it may not even be to our design. We're inheriting these ideas of what we should be building and we're putting them on nothing. So if you're feeling like torn and uncomfortable or stressed, or feeling like, you know, you're not living a life that's true to you, you're feeling held back from things, I encourage you to start with just asking, who am I in this? Really, who's the essence of me? What do I stand for? What's really important to me in this world? And I went through the process of looking at ikigai as a concept, these 4 key pillars, and I tell everybody about ikigai because it changed my life.
What's
a dear friend of
say that again.
Ikigai. It's the Japanese secret of happiness.
Okay.
Ikigai. And you can go, and there's loads of TEDx talks about it. You can watch them on YouTube. You can Google the model. But the way I explain it very quickly and simply is there are 4 key pillars to finding fulfillment. I actually like to add an additional one. I like to make my own models. But these 4 key pillars are: what do you love? What do you believe the world really needs? What are you good at? And what can you make good money doing? And when you find something to do with your time that you love, that you're good at, that you believe the world needs, and that pays you good money, you find true fulfillment in what you're doing. But as I was looking at each of these 4 key pillars and asking myself, well, what do I love? What am I really good at, truly? Not what do people say I'm good at. What do I know in my core I'm really good at? What do I personally believe that this world really needs most? And what can I earn money doing? And when I sat down and did this exercise, I realized actually what's really important in my life, who I really am in terms of my natural giftings and skills and talents. And that was difficult for me. What do I really believe is important in the world? I came to the conclusion, for me, it's pure and simply love. When we love ourselves, when we love one another, the problems of the world cease to exist. But there's so much corruption, fear, ego that gets in the way. And where there's perfect love, there's no fear. But we live in a world where there's a lot of fear. It's not a perfect world. And so we naturally have this sort of constant kind of struggle with love and fear, and we have to kind of find our way through that. But if in a world where we had perfect love for ourselves and for each other, there would be no problems. We would have world peace. So for me, that's what I want to bring. I want to bring love for myself, love for my fellow human, and make this world a more loving space to be in as best I can, whilst also recognizing that there are evils and fears in the world that we have to navigate and we have to rise up against and stand against, potentially proactively. So sitting down and doing all of this was really helpful for me, but it also helped me to see that there was things about myself that I hadn't really unpicked before. When I realized what really mattered, I started asking, why does that matter to me? Where does that come from? And going deep into the depths of me helped to reveal some things about my values and my upbringing, some trauma, various things came out that I could then deal with, process, and take almost as put tools in my toolkit to take with me, being empowered to know this is who I am. This is what really matters to me and why. This is my story that's made me who I am now. And I can own that and use that to do good stuff with, and be empowered by it. So for me, that's what I would encourage women to do, is just take that journey, be willing to ask those difficult questions. Yes, it's messy. Yes, it's not always comfortable. There will be mess, there will be tears, there will be snot. It will not be pretty, but it is worth it, because when you get those revelations, it is life-changing and it's amazing.
Oh, Nikki, as you were saying those things, I was thinking, oh, I need to ask Nikki to mention this, but you mentioned it anyway. And I just want women or whoever's listening to be super encouraged by this, to go, yes, it's tricky to, because you and I know we've both been on similar journeys of growth. And at that point where it's time to look within and go within and think, that's where it all has to begin. If you are in that sticky point, it has to begin with you. And that can feel scary, that can feel uncomfortable, and you can begin the journey, and you get to a point and you can hit quite a sticky point, a difficult point, and it can make you go, oh, do you know what? Oh, it's not for me. Oh no, it's too hard. But I want you to really be encouraged from both Nikki and myself to go, it is really worth going on that journey of discovery. Yes, it will be difficult. Yes, there may be barriers that you come across, but once you've gone on that journey, once you keep growing and growing, honestly, you'll never ever feel like you're completely there. But life will change, you will grow, amazing things will happen, and it's absolutely worth it.
Yes, just being able to receive that is so important, because I think the world tries to keep us squished in our little boxes thinking this is life, because actually that serves various systems that are at work in our culture, in our society, and it's I hate to say it's all about power and control. And actually when we step out of that kind of paradigm and we say, no, I'm me, I am unique, I am special, I'm not just the same as everybody else in my little box going through life and I die and that's the end. Actually I have a purpose here. And when you really, I think some people think that's all about ego, needing to be important, needing to be have purpose. It's like, no, it's not about need, it's about seeing truth. And when you see that, you start to like you say, Rachel, you grow. And as you grow, you realize that there's this whole nother level of awareness that you never had before. And now that you have, there are other people in that space as well that you didn't even know were in that
You
space.
suddenly meet these amazing people that are, and it is so amazing when you're suddenly connected with so many like-minded people and people who think like you and feel like you and want to grow like you. Oh, it's beautiful. Nikki, I'm so grateful for everything. Every little word that's come out of your mouth today has been so powerful, and I know it's going to touch so many people. And I just want to end by asking you, you know, I mean, we've alluded to it already, but why do you think it is important that we step up and shape the world?
Because if we don't, we are not fulfilling our purpose and our destiny. So for me, you know, I've got an accountancy business. I'm working with hundreds of women in my network that kind of brings women together, which is all about what I've talked about. And each of those things have a role and a purpose in the world that I live in, because I have the ability to impact others' lives. And so for me, the real answer to that question, why is it important, is because we have the ability to change the world. But if we choose not to, we are the ones that miss out. The world will, there is always an alternative way. If we choose to say no, there will always be somebody else who has a calling, who will rise up in our place and who will be called into that space to fill that gap that we've created because we've not done what we were born to do. So we don't have to, you know, we don't have to worry and carry a responsibility that the world's going to fall apart if we don't do our bit. It's not about pressure, but it's actually about, we find joy in living out our purpose, and we receive blessing, and we're privileged to have that ability to say yes to what is available to us to step into. We are the ones that receive that blessing. So as much as, you know, a lot of us in this high level space of growth and challenging and moving forward, we say, you know, it's about all the people we want to help, all the impact we want to have. And it's all about looking at others and how we help others. But the reason that we do that is because it brings us such joy, deep joy. And so you've got to do this, ladies, and whoever, if you're men watching as well, you've got to do this because it brings you joy, not because you feel you should, you need to, you have to. It's just beautiful when you do, and that's why you should do it.
Nikki, this has been wonderful. I have had so many goosebumps listening to you and talking to you, and I feel shivers all throughout my body now. So I know what you have said has been so impactful and so the truth. So thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait for everyone to hear this and to connect with you. I will put all your information out there so people, if they're interested, want to be able to connect with you, I will put that all out there for them. Nikki, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Bless you. Speak to you soon.
Bye.